Today, President Barack Obama and his Attorney General Eric Holder have been able to avoid much of the blame for the deadly failures of the ATF's controversial gun-running operation. But as new details continue to emerge, the spotlight of the scandal is beginning to shine a light on the highest levels of the United States government, including the Justice Department and the White House.
The American people deserve prompt and complete answers to the questions surrounding this operation.
Letting guns walk is not something that is acceptable.
This is one of the most shameful moments, I think, in our government's history.
This is one of the saddest days in my 6 months in Congress.
Special Agent Newell, what were you thinking? I think that's what we're all scratching our heads about.
This is the Mo Curley and Larry show, and we're looking for Larry.
Are they lying or are you lying?
There are far more questions than there are answers when it comes to who is responsible and who should be held accountable for the ATF's failed experiment known as Operation Fast and Furious. Not only does the Attorney General deny having any knowledge of this gun-running scheme, he denies the operation played any role in the deaths of federal agents Brian Terry and Jamie Zapata.
The notion that somehow or other this Justice Department is responsible for those deaths that you mentioned, that assertion is offensive. And I want to tell you that.
But what if it's accurate, Mr. Attorney General?
Eric Holder has a long history of scandalous decisions, of mismanagement, and of deadly decisions. I think that the people who put him in that appointment in the first place bear blame. They have to answer for their bad decisions because, look, with Eric Holder, the writing was on the wall. There was no question that you were going to get anything other than an obstructionist corruptocrat in office, and that's how he has run his agency.
Under Holder's direction, the Justice Department has ignored subpoenas and refused to turn over key documents to Congress throughout the investigation.
Sir, if you're going to count pages like this as discovery, you should be ashamed of yourself. The pages go on like this forever. You've given us black paper instead of white paper. How dare you make an opening statement? How dare you make an opening statement of cooperation? We've had to subpoena again and again.
Stonewalling is the Obama way. It certainly has been the Eric Holder way of dealing with this controversy, and that's why Republicans, whistleblowers, investigative journalists have to continue to push.
Who authorized this program that was so felony stupid that it got people killed?
The chairman of the House Oversight Committee, California Republican Darrell Issa, has been one of Eric Holder's most outspoken critics.
The Justice Department continues to withhold key information and has inappropriately interfered with this investigation. Let me be clear. The Justice Department is not our partner in this effort. They are the subject of this investigation. Their continued interference will not be allowed to derail the committee's work.
A House Oversight Committee report describes in great detail the type of interference being encountered by investigators. Quote, DOJ leadership denied allegations that gun walking occurred in Fast and Furious by adopting an overly narrow definition of the term. They argue that gun walking is limited to cases in which ATF itself supplied the guns directly.
It's no surprise that a former Clinton official is getting Clinton-esque about his alibis and his rationalizations for how this program got out of control. But it is certainly a case of parsing definitions and trying to weasel out of what the definition of is.
Now the question is whether or not Eric Holder's Clinton-like evasion will help him survive this scandal, just as his former boss did in the late 1990s.
There's a Teflon coating around so many of the top Obama officials. And I think the question is for the American people. Will you allow that coating to stand after you know what's going on with the scandal, after you know the hell that Brian Terry and his family had to go through? And when people decide in 2012 who they want running the White House, they will get to decide if they want somebody like President Obama who put Eric Holder in place.
But we may not need to wait until 2012 because now even the White House's knowledge of and involvement in Fast and Furious is being exposed. On July the 26th, for the very first time, ATF special agent in charge, Bill Newell, revealed that he had informed a top national security official at the White House about the operation back in September 2010.
Isn't it a little bit unusual for a special agent in charge of an ATF field division to have direct email contact with the national security staff at the White House?
He's a friend of mine.
How many times did you talk to him about this case?
The specifics of this case, I don't think I had one specific conversation with him about the specifics of this case.
Could you take the word specific out and answer the general? Did you talk to him about this case?
I might have talked to him about this case, yes, sir.
O'Reilly is the first aide to President Barack Obama to publicly be accused of having knowledge of this operation. But what remains unclear is whether or not he shared this information with anybody else inside the White House.
And coming up, one of the people most responsible for bringing all of this to the public's attention, that's Congressman Darrell Issa. He tells us one of the most shocking details. Coming up next. Chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. And Congressman Issa joins us now. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for covering this story. It's so important that we get it right and we get it behind us, meaning they don't do it again.
Well, and this is the point here because, you know, all these guns got out on the street. We're still missing, I want to make sure our facts are right, about 1,600 of them are unaccounted for, right?
Roughly 1,600, and they will turn up over the next decade, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we have 2 dead agents as a result of this. You know, one of the things you and I discussed at one point, Congressman, was, you know, there would have been a very simple way because of technology to track this. For example, I have a friend of mine who has an 18-year-old son who got a speeding ticket, and the way now he monitors his son's driving is he puts a GPS in the car, and he goes on every time he drives. He's able to go and look at the GPS data, I guess is what you call it, and see when the kid was driving, where he was driving, how fast he was driving, and then you would think that they could put that in the guns, and that would bring us right to where they wanted to go, wouldn't it?
Well, absolutely. And actually, there's technology that would even be better than that, which would be one that sat there dormant waiting for a signal for months. And then when you turned it on, you could find out where it was and it wouldn't be detectable. But all of those kinds of things were not part of this plan. This plan was let them have the guns, see them at the scene of the crime, and then think you could connect the dots. And clearly that was fallacy, and the arrests that the very limited amount of arrests, 19 out of 20 of them have been for the straw purchasers. They never rolled up the kind of people that they said they were going to, because this particular program never could have led to that.
Do you interpret this to be a cover-up?
I do, and I think it's a cover-up because they simply don't want us looking at the political appointees who were part of this flawed decision process, whether it was Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General Lanny Brewer, or the U.S. Attorney locally, or a policy that reversed what President George W. Bush had said. George W. Bush fired U.S. attorneys who would not enforce gun laws. This U.S. attorney in Phoenix wasn't enforcing gun laws, and yet they were authorized and overseeing a program to let high-powered weapons walk to Mexico. There's something inherently wrong with both of those decisions.
Well, and you did point out earlier, and I read a comment that you had made, that the president, you feel, was kind of parsing his words specifically and gave a very Clintonian answer. Can you explain that?
Well, you know, when he says did not authorized is as far as he would go. Well, look, I don't expect the president to have authorized a specific investigation or program. I don't expect the Attorney General necessarily to have authorized every aspect of this. Yeah. But I would be shocked that the Attorney General was not briefed on how a U.S. agent or 2 U.S. agents died. Well, you know, on the day that Gabby Gifford was shot, I've got to tell you, there were emails flying around everywhere because people were concerned that this was a fast and furious weapon that had shot her. That kind of panic doesn't stay just at the local level. Yeah. It goes up and down. And it's one of the reasons that the stonewalling they're doing and the cover-up they're doing just makes us believe that this was more than it seems even now. And it seems like enough that people's heads should roll, and we should have new safeguards to make sure this could never happen again.
Congressman, you're talking about a cover-up of this magnitude. This is a crime. Am I correct?
Well, there's no question lying to Congress is a crime. Telling us things that aren't true, which have occurred, are a crime. But the biggest crime was breaking faith with the American people. And now one of the biggest crimes is this if you will, new set of rules along the border where they're forcing additional gun databases for weapons sold and justifying it based on gun violence that they helped create. And that's where you start looking and saying, I'm not going to promote a conspiracy, but you have to wonder, couldn't you find a better time to suggest that you need more gun reporting than when, in fact, we're looking at you're helping so many guns promote gun violence, including the loss of Brian Terry?
As they have stonewalled and delayed sending you documents, emails, correspondence, as they have sent you redacted things, you've also had back-channel whistleblowers in this case. So you get to compare the two documents so you know what they're up to. On the other hand,
absolutely.
And on the other hand, you also have agents that are showing up that want to tell you the truth. They're not showing up with Justice Department attorneys. They're showing up with their own attorneys. So do you feel like you have fully gotten to the bottom of this yet?
No, but we wouldn't have gotten where we've gotten if it wasn't for very brave men, and right now they happen to all be men, who have come forward and risked their jobs, their careers, to give us information as whistleblowers. And I'm very proud of all the people who have come forward without the Justice Department attorneys, so they can tell us what they really believe. And they've been pretty candid. They've been candid because ATF, and for that matter, the other law enforcement agencies were involved in this, the FBI, the DEA, and others, they don't do business this way. This was an anomaly created maybe locally, but promoted by political appointees at a high level that should have known better and should never have allowed this to happen. And right now, we have no faith they wouldn't allow it to continue.
Unbelievable. Congressman, thank you for your time tonight on our special. And